The room fell silent as the massive alien ship appeared on the main view screen. Captain Frank Miller took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for since they first looked up at the stars. First contact with an advanced alien civilization. "Steady, everyone," he said to his crew aboard the EDF Valiant, Earth's most advanced spacecraft. "Remember your training." The alien vessel dwarfed the Valiant by at least 20 times. Its surface gleamed with a metallic purple sheen that seemed to shift colors as it moved against the backdrop of stars. Strange protrusions that might have been weapons or sensors dotted its hull. "They're hailing us, Captain," said Communications Officer Diane Wright, her fingers steady despite the tension. "Put them through," ordered Miller. The view screen flickered, revealing a tall humanoid figure with grayish-blue skin and 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern. The alien wore an elaborate uniform covered in symbols that seemed to glow from within. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am High Chancellor Zorak of the Galactic Hegemony. We have been observing your world for some time." Miller squared his shoulders. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you. I am Captain Frank Miller of the Earth Defense Fleet." Zorak's upper eyes blinked. "Defense Fleet, how quaint. We come in peace, Captain. The hegemony spans 10,000 star systems. We wish to welcome Earth into our community." Dr. Lisa Washington, the mission's xenobiologist, watched the exchange carefully from her station. Something about the alien's tone bothered her. The words were friendly, but the delivery felt rehearsed, almost condescending. "We're honored," Miller replied cautiously. "We've prepared a delegation to meet with you and discuss formal relations." "Excellent," said Zorak. "Please bring your representatives to our vessel in 2 of your Earth hours. We will send coordinates for docking." When the transmission ended, Miller turned to his officers. "Thoughts?" "They speak English," said Jack Collins, the diplomat assigned to the mission. "They've definitely been watching us for quite a while." "I don't like that we're meeting on their ship," said Security Chief Paul Garcia. "It puts us at a tactical disadvantage." "We don't have much choice," Miller replied. "If they wanted to harm us, that ship could vaporize us without breaking a sweat." 2 hours later, Miller led a small team including Dr. Washington, Collins, and 2 security officers onto a shuttle headed for the hegemony vessel. As they approached, the true scale of the alien ship became apparent. It was like a small city floating in space. "Look at their propulsion system," whispered Dr. Washington as they drew closer. "It doesn't match any theoretical model we've developed. They're centuries ahead of us, maybe more." Their shuttle was guided into a massive docking bay where dozens of smaller craft were stored. When the doors opened, they were greeted by 4 tall aliens similar to Zorak, but wearing simpler uniforms. "Welcome aboard the Dominance," said one of the aliens. "I am Sub-Commander Vex. Please follow me to the reception area." The humans were led through corridors that seemed to stretch for miles. Strange plants grew from the walls, and other alien species moved about, barely glancing at the human visitors. "How many different species are part of your hegemony?" asked Collins. "Currently, 219 sentient species enjoy the benefits of hegemony membership," Vex answered smoothly. "Earth will be 220. Dr. Washington noticed something odd about the other aliens they passed. Many seemed to be performing menial tasks, and none interacted with the tall, 4-eyed species that appeared to be in charge. The reception area was a vast chamber with viewing ports that looked out into space. High Chancellor Zorak waited for them, along with a dozen other officials. "Captain Miller, welcome," said Zorak. "Please let us sit and discuss the bright future that awaits your species under hegemony guidance." The meeting began well enough, with exchanges of cultural information and scientific knowledge. The aliens seemed particularly interested in Earth's natural resources and population centers. "Your planet is quite rich in certain minerals we find. Valuable," said one official named Krell. "Particularly your oceans and your polar regions." During a break in the talks, Dr. Washington asked to use what the aliens called a data terminal to learn more about hegemony biology. A junior alien showed her to a small room with a console. Once alone, Washington quickly tried to access more general information. To her surprise, the security was minimal. Perhaps the aliens didn't expect a primitive human to understand their technology. She found a classification system for planets and searched for Earth. What she saw made her blood run cold. Earth was listed as Resource World 4792, with detailed plans for extraction operations scheduled to begin within 1 Earth year. Further searches revealed images of other worlds before and after hegemony membership. Lush planets reduced to mining wastelands. Washington downloaded as much data as she could to a device hidden in her sleeve, then returned to the meeting. She discreetly showed Miller what she'd found. Miller maintained his diplomatic facade while signaling Collins and the security team with a prearranged hand gesture that meant, "Prepare to leave immediately." "High Chancellor," Miller said smoothly, "this has been enlightening, but we should return to our ship to prepare a formal response from our world leaders." Zorak's 4 eyes narrowed slightly. "Of course, Captain. Though we had hoped to show you more of our vessel. Perhaps Dr. Washington would like to see our biological research facilities?" Washington felt her heart race. They knew. "Another time, perhaps," Miller said, standing. "We really must." An alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. On a large screen in the reception area, they could see their shuttle being scanned by hegemony soldiers. "It seems," said Zorak, his voice now cold, "that someone has accessed restricted information. That is most unfortunate." Miller didn't hesitate. He grabbed a decorative object from a nearby table and hurled it at the window overlooking space. The object bounced off harmlessly. Zorak laughed. "Did you think it would be so easy?" Garcia and the other security officer drew their weapons. The aliens looked more amused than concerned. "This way!" Washington shouted, having memorized parts of the ship's layout from her data search. The humans ran down a corridor with hegemony guards in pursuit. Through a combination of luck, Earth combat training, and the aliens' overconfidence, they managed to fight their way back to their shuttle. Miller took the controls while Garcia held off the guards. "They're sealing the bay doors," yelled Collins. Miller gunned the engines to maximum. "Then we make our own door." The shuttle's weaponry wasn't designed for this, but a concentrated burst at the force field covering the bay entrance created a momentary disruption, just enough for Miller to squeeze the shuttle through. As they raced back toward the Valiant, Washington said, "They're going to come after us. They're planning to strip mine Earth. We're just another conquest to them." Miller's face hardened with resolve. "Not if I can help it." He opened a channel to the Valiant. "Prepare all weapons. The diplomatic approach has failed." When the first hegemony scout ships came after them, Miller made the decision that would change humanity's future forever. The Valiant fired all its experimental weapons, destroying 3 alien vessels before jumping to Earth's defense perimeter. The war for Earth's survival had begun. 6 months had passed since the disastrous first contact with the Galactic hegemony. The world had changed. Nations once at odds now worked together with a single purpose: survival. In the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Director Susan Taylor studied the holographic display of Earth's growing defense network. Red dots showed the positions of the newly built orbital platforms, while blue lines represented patrol routes of Earth's hastily expanded fleet. "How many ships can we field now?" she asked General Alan Peterson, who stood beside her with his arms crossed. 122 combat-ready vessels," Peterson replied. "Most are small and fast. Only 15 capital ships. Nothing close to what the hegemony will bring." Taylor nodded grimly. "And the planetary shield?" "Dr. Rodriguez says it's at 60% capacity. It won't be enough to block their main fleet." The door to the command center slid open, and Captain Frank Miller walked in. His face looked thinner than it had 6 months ago, with new lines around his eyes. Since his return from the disastrous first contact mission, he had become a key advisor to the United Earth Defense Council. "Director Taylor, General," Miller said with a nod. "I just came from the science division. Dr. Rodriguez wants to show something." They followed Miller through a series of security checkpoints to a large laboratory. Dr. Kevin Rodriguez stood hunched over a strange device that glowed with an eerie purple light. Next to him, Dr. Lisa Washington typed rapidly on a computer. "We did it," Rodriguez said without looking up. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. We cracked their communication system. Taylor moved closer. You can intercept hegemony transmissions? Better than that, Washington said, turning the screen so they could see. We can listen to their entire network. Their security is good, but they never expected a primitive species to get hold of their tech. On the screen, strange symbols scrolled past, automatically translating into English. What have you learned? Asked General Peterson. Rodriguez tapped a few keys, bringing up a star chart. The main invasion fleet is here, near what we call Alpha Centauri. Based on their communications, they'll arrive in our system in approximately 18 months. 18 months, Taylor repeated. That's more time than we expected. They're not in a hurry, Miller said, his voice hard. Their reports show they consider us a minor nuisance. They're calling the destruction of their scout ships a lucky accident. Washington pointed to another section of data. They're bringing a harvest fleet behind the military vessels. They plan to begin resource extraction immediately after subduing Earth. The general's face darkened. How many ships are we talking about? Over 500 combat vessels, Rodriguez said quietly, and 3 times that many support craft. The room fell silent as the reality sank in. Earth had 122 ships against nearly 2,000. There's something else you need to see, Miller said. He nodded to Washington, who brought up an image of what looked like a small space station. This is a recording we pulled from a hegemony database, she explained. It shows how they dealt with the last species that resisted them. The footage showed alien ships surrounding the station. A beam of energy shot out from the largest vessel and the station simply disappeared. Not exploded. Disappeared. What happened to it? Taylor asked. Some kind of dimensional displacement weapon, Rodriguez explained. It didn't destroy the station. It moved it somewhere else. We don't know where. General Peterson placed his hands on the table. So we're hopelessly outgunned and they have weapons we can't even understand. What options do we have? We have one advantage, Miller said. They're underestimating us. And we're not alone in hating the hegemony. He gestured to Washington, who brought up another file. This is Jack Collins. After we escaped the hegemony ship, he volunteered for a secret mission. The screen showed Collins aboard a small stealth ship. His message was brief. Made contact with the resistance. Many species fight the hegemony from the shadows, bringing back allies and intelligence. ETA 2 weeks. Hope flickered in Taylor's eyes. There's a resistance? Small groups scattered across hegemony space, Washington confirmed. Species who've been fighting back for centuries. Rodriguez suddenly straightened up. I have another idea. The hegemony communications use quantum entanglement. That means, speak English, Doctor, Peterson said impatiently. It means their communications are instantaneous across any distance, but it also means we might be able to disrupt them in ways they won't expect. Rodriguez turned to Washington. Remember those shield frequency modulators we found in their database? Washington's eyes widened. You think we could adapt that technology to target their communications? Not just communications, Rodriguez said, excitement building in his voice. Their ships use the same basic principles for their shield systems. If we can disrupt one, we might disrupt both. For the first time in months, Director Taylor smiled. Get to work on it immediately. General, I want our fleet ready for combat drills using any tactics these resistance fighters can teach us. As the others left, Miller remained behind with Taylor. Do you think we can really win this? He asked quietly. Taylor looked at the display showing Earth, surrounded by the growing defense network. Win? I don't know. But we're going to make them regret ever finding us. 2 weeks later, Jack Collins returned with 3 alien representatives. They were nothing like the tall, four-eyed members of the hegemony. These aliens were smaller, with mottled green skin and large, expressive eyes. This is Kira, Collins said, introducing the leader. Her people, the Vril, were one of the first species conquered by the hegemony over 500 years ago. Kira bowed slightly. We fight from the shadows because we cannot fight in the open. But your people have done something remarkable. You saw the hegemony's true face on first contact and immediately chose resistance. She placed a small device on the conference table. It projected a complex diagram of a hegemony warship. Their ships have weaknesses, she said. All their technology depends on a substance they call flux matter. Disrupt that and their weapons, shields, and drives all fail. General Peterson leaned forward. And how do we disrupt this flux matter? Kira's large eyes blinked slowly. That is where your Dr. Rodriguez's ideas become important. Together we might create what no single species has managed alone. As the planning session continued into the night, a sense of purpose filled the room. Earth was preparing for the greatest fight in human history. The odds were overwhelming, but for the first time there was a glimmer of hope. In orbit above Earth, construction ships worked tirelessly on the growing defense grid. In hidden bases across the solar system, Earth's fleet prepared for war. And, in Rodriguez's lab, human and alien scientists worked side by side on a weapon that might just change the course of the coming battle. The countdown to invasion had begun. The early warning systems detected them first. Massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system, near the orbit of Pluto. The hegemony fleet had arrived, 18 months after first contact, just as predicted. Commander Nicole Howard stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, Earth's largest warship. Through the view screen she could see hundreds of smaller Earth vessels gathered around her. This was humanity's main battle fleet, the last line of defense if the outer system fell. All ships reporting ready, Commander, said her first officer, Lieutenant Ben Lewis. Howard nodded. Relay to all captains. Maintain position until ordered otherwise. On Earth, in the command center, Director Susan Taylor watched as red dots appeared on the tactical display. Each represented a hegemony vessel. There were so many that they blurred together in places. 527 combat vessels detected so far, reported the sensor officer. More still arriving. General Peterson stood beside Taylor, his face grim. Just as the intelligence said, we're outnumbered 4-1. Numbers aren't everything, Taylor replied. We have home field advantage and Dr. Rodriguez's surprise. The comm system chimed. Director, this is Rodriguez. The disruption system is online. Major Porter's stealth fleet is in position. Good, Taylor said. Now we wait for them to make the first move. At the edge of the solar system, the massive hegemony command ship entered normal space. It was 3 times larger than any vessel Earth had built, shaped like a spiked blade with countless weapon ports along its hull. On its bridge, War Commander Draz surveyed the tactical display with all 4 eyes. His gray-blue skin reflected the red light of battle stations. The humans have deployed defensive forces, reported his tactical officer. Draz made a dismissive gesture with one of his upper hands. Primitive vessels. They cannot hope to stand against us. We have detected unusual energy readings from several of their moons and the planet itself, the science officer cautioned. Irrelevant, Draz said. This species had barely achieved spaceflight a century ago. They have no technology that can threaten us. Begin the advance. The hegemony fleet moved forward in perfect formation, hundreds of ships arranged in attack, patterns honed over thousands of years of conquest. Their first targets were the human outposts on Pluto and its moon Charon. As the fleet approached, Major Greg Porter watched from his stealth ship, hidden among the ice debris of the outer system. 20 similar vessels waited nearby, invisible to hegemony sensors thanks to technology provided by Kira's resistance fighters. All ships, prepare to execute Plan Hornet. Porter ordered quietly. Wait for them to engage the outposts. The hegemony ships opened fire on the Pluto defense stations. Bright beams of energy lanced out, destroying several of the human structures instantly. Now, Porter ordered. 20 stealth ships decloaked directly among the hegemony rear formation. Each launched a dozen small devices that attached to the hulls of the enemy vessels before Porter's fleet vanished again, jumping to their next predetermined position. On the hegemony command ship, alarms blared. Unknown devices attached to 43 of our support vessels, reported the tactical officer, Before Draz could respond, the devices activated. A strange energy pulse spread through the affected ships, causing their shields to flicker and fail. "What is happening?" Draz demanded. The science officer worked frantically at his console. "Some kind of resonance field targeting our flux matter converters. Shields are failing on the affected vessels." "Impossible," Draz hissed. "No primitive species could understand." His words were cut off as human defense platforms around Pluto and Karen opened fire. Without shields, the targeted hegemony ships took heavy damage. Several exploded while others drifted powerless. "All ships, advance!" Draz ordered in fury. "Destroy everything!" The battle for the outer solar system had begun. For 3 days, the hegemony fleet pushed forward, suffering unexpected losses but overwhelming the defenders through sheer numbers. Earth's forces fell back in a fighting retreat, using hit-and-run tactics developed with help from the Resistance. Near Neptune, Commander Howard's main fleet engaged the hegemony forces directly for the first time. The space around the blue planet filled with weapons fire and exploding ships. "Target their lead vessel," Howard ordered. "All batteries fire." The defenders' advanced weapons struck a hegemony cruiser, tearing through its weakened shields. The alien ship broke apart, secondary explosions rippling along its hull. 5 more ships approaching from Sector 4, reported Lieutenant Lewis. "Deploy disruption field," Howard ordered. The defender released a wave of energy based on Dr. Rodriguez's designs. It spread outward, causing several nearby hegemony vessels to lose shield power temporarily. Earth ships immediately concentrated fire on these vulnerable targets. On Earth, Director Taylor monitored the battle. "How are we doing?" "Better than expected," General Peterson replied. "We've destroyed or disabled nearly 100 of their vessels, but they're still coming." The tactical display showed the hegemony fleet regrouping, adapting to the disruption field by changing shield frequencies. They were learning. "It's time for Phase 2, Taylor said. "Contact Dr. Rodriguez." In his laboratory, Rodriguez activated the solar system-wide version of his disruption technology, giant emitters built into the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, as well as dozens of asteroids powered up simultaneously. The effect was immediate. Throughout the solar system, hegemony ships suddenly lost shield power. Their weapon systems flickered and failed. Many lost propulsion entirely. "What is happening?" War Commander Draz roared as his own flagship systems began to fail. "Some kind of system-wide disruption field," his science officer replied, frantically working controls that no longer responded. "It's targeting all flux matter simultaneously. I've never seen anything like it." Earth's fleets pressed their advantage, destroying dozens more enemy ships while they were vulnerable. But the disruption field couldn't be maintained for long. After 15 minutes, it began to fade. "All ships prepare for the enemy to recover," Commander Howard ordered. "Fall back to defensive positions around Jupiter." As the disruption field faded, the remaining hegemony vessels regained power. War Commander Draz was furious. "Half our fleet disabled or destroyed by primitives," he snarled. "How is this possible?" "They seem to have help," his intelligence officer suggested. "Some of their technology resembles that of the resistance groups." Draz's 4 eyes narrowed. "No matter. We still outnumber them. All remaining ships, full, advance toward their homeworld. We will make an example of Earth that the galaxy will never forget." The hegemony fleet regrouped and pushed inward, past Jupiter and Mars, heading directly for Earth. Despite heavy losses, they still had over 300 combat-capable ships against Earth's dwindling fleet. In the command center, Director Taylor made her decision. "It's time," she said to General Peterson. "Initiate Operation Prohibition." Peterson nodded gravely and opened a communication channel to all Earth forces. "All ships, fall back to Earth, orbit immediately. I repeat, all ships return to Earth, orbit. Operation Prohibition is commencing." As Earth's defending fleet retreated homeward, the hegemony forces pursued, believing victory was finally at hand. War Commander Draz allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as his fleet approached the blue planet. "Prepare planetary bombardment," he ordered. "Target their major cities first." But as the hegemony fleet reached the orbit of Earth's moon, "Director, Taylor gave the final order that would change galactic history forever. Director Susan Taylor stood before the massive communication array in the heart of Earth's command center. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady as she addressed the entire planet and, using the hegemony's own communication technology, the invading fleet as well. "This is Earth, speaking to the ships of the galactic hegemony," she began. "For thousands of years, we humans dreamed of meeting other intelligent life among the stars. We hoped for friendship, knowledge, and a wider universe. Instead, you came to conquer and destroy." In orbit, War Commander Draz watched the transmission with a mixture of amusement and irritation. He gestured to his weapons officer to continue preparing the bombardment. "A primitive species making speeches while facing extinction," he said dismissively. "How typical." On the view screen, Taylor continued, "Therefore, by unanimous vote of Earth's United Nations, we issue this formal declaration. The Sol system, and all its planets, moons, and inhabitants hereby ban the galactic hegemony from our space. Any hegemony vessel entering or remaining in this system will be considered a hostile act and met with immediate destruction." Laughter erupted across the hegemony command ship. Even Draz's usually formal officers could not contain their amusement. "They ban us," Draz said, his four eyes blinking in sequence. "As if they were issuing a punishment to disobedient children? Fire the first wave of planet crackers. Let's show them who gives orders in this galaxy." But in her command center, Director Taylor wasn't finished. She nodded to Dr. Rodriguez, who stood at a control station nearby. "To enforce this ban," Taylor continued, "we have developed a technology that the hegemony, in all its supposed wisdom, believed impossible for primitives to understand." Rodriguez pressed his hand to a scanner, and deep beneath the surface of Earth, massive generators began to power up. Similar devices hidden on the Moon, Mars, and throughout the asteroid belt activated simultaneously. "Hegemony vessels, you have 1 Earth hour to retreat beyond the orbit of Pluto," Taylor announced. "After that time, the ban will be enforced. War." Commander Draz cut the transmission. "Enough of this. Begin bombardment now." The massive hegemony flagship charged its main weapon, a beam capable of cracking a planet's crust. Other ships moved into formation, preparing to reduce Earth's major cities to ash. But before they could fire, sensors across the hegemony fleet began to detect a strange energy building throughout the solar system. "What is that?" Draz demanded as warning alarms sounded. His science officer worked frantically at the console. "Some kind of energy field is forming. It's unlike anything in our records." "Ignore it and fire," Draz ordered. The flagship's main cannon discharged, sending a beam of destructive energy toward Earth. But halfway to its target, the beam hit something invisible. It didn't just stop. It reflected back, striking one of the hegemony's own support ships and vaporizing it instantly. "Impossible," Draz shouted. On Earth, Jack Collins watched the display with the alien resistance leader Kira at his side. "They did it," Kira whispered in awe. "Your scientists actually created a selective barrier." The energy field was now visible as a faint blue glow encompassing the entire solar system. Like a bubble with Earth at its center, it allowed light and communication signals to pass through normally, but reacted violently to hegemony technology. Several hegemony ships attempted to flee, engaging their faster-than-light drives. As they did, the energy field interacted with their engines, causing catastrophic failures. Ships vanished in blinding explosions or were torn apart by spatial distortions. "What have they done?" Draz's first officer asked in horror. "The field is keyed specifically to hegemony technology," the science officer explained, voice shaking. "It's using our own energy signatures against us. We cannot fire weapons, cannot use our drives, cannot leave." Draz slammed his fist on his command chair. "This is impossible. No single species has ever developed technology like this." On the main view screen, Director Taylor appeared again. "War Commander, your hour has not yet elapsed, but your ships have already fired upon Earth. The ban is now in full effect." As if to emphasize her point, the energy field pulsed. Across the hegemony fleet, Secondary systems began to fail. Life support remained functioning, but weapons, shields, and engines shut down completely. In the Earth Command Center, General Peterson turned to Taylor. "What do we do with them now? There are still over 300 ships out there with thousands of hegemony personnel." Taylor's expression was grim but resolved. "We give them one chance, one only." She opened the channel again. "War Commander Draz, your fleet is now powerless within our system. Here are our terms. All hegemony military personnel will board lifeboats. Your soldiers will be detained on Mars as prisoners of war, treated according to Earth's humanitarian laws. Your civilian personnel may choose to remain as refugees or be transported to the edge of our system when we develop suitable vessels." She paused, then added, "Your ships will be dismantled. The hegemony's presence in this solar system is permanently ended. These are our only terms." On his crippled flagship, Draz raged, smashing equipment and threatening his officers. But the truth was undeniable. They were trapped and powerless. "Never," he snarled. "I will never surrender to primitives." His first officer stepped forward cautiously. "Sir, we have 30,000 crew members across the fleet. Without life support, they will all die." "Then they die with honor," Draz shouted. But across the fleet, captains were already ordering evacuations. Lifeboats launched by the hundreds, heading toward the designated coordinates near Mars where Earth vessels waited to receive them. From the Defender, Commander Howard watched the exodus. "I never thought I'd see hegemony soldiers choose surrender," she said to Lieutenant Lewis. "They're not all choosing it," Lewis replied, pointing to several larger ships where no lifeboats had launched. "Some are staying with their commanders." Over the next few hours, roughly 2/3 of the hegemony personnel abandoned their vessels. The remaining ships, including Draz's flagship, maintained communication silence. In the command center, Taylor consulted with her advisors. "Options for the holdouts? We could strengthen the field," Rodriguez suggested. "Force a complete shutdown of their life support." Taylor shook her head. "No, we won't become like them. They've made their choice." She turned to the communication officer. "Send this message to all remaining hegemony vessels. We will maintain a corridor through the energy field at these coordinates. You have 24 hours to proceed single file back to the edge of our solar system. Your ships will retain minimal power for life support and basic propulsion only. Any deviation or attempt to use weapons will result in immediate destruction." Against his officer's advice, War Commander Draz finally ordered his ship to join the humiliating retreat. One by one, the once mighty vessels of the hegemony crawled out of the solar system, stripped of their power, their weapons, and their pride. As the last ship passed beyond Pluto's orbit, cheers erupted throughout Earth's command centers and civilian populations. The impossible had happened. Earth had not just survived, it had driven away the most powerful empire in the galaxy. But in the quiet of her office, Director Taylor knew this was just the beginning. "The hegemony won't forget this," she said to Jack Collins. "They'll be back with new technology, new weapons." Collins nodded. "Then we'll need to be ready. And we'll need allies." Taylor looked out her window at the night sky. The stars seemed different now, no longer distant and unreachable, but full of both danger and possibility. Operation Prohibition was just the first step, she said. Now comes the hard part, deciding what kind of interstellar power Earth will become. 5 years passed since Earth banned the galactic hegemony from the solar system. Much had changed. The blue planet was no longer isolated, but had become the center of a growing alliance of free worlds. Admiral Frank Miller stood on the bridge of the EDF Explorer, Earth's newest and most advanced starship. Through the view screen, he watched as his small fleet of 10 vessels prepared to enter faster-than-light travel. This would be humanity's first diplomatic mission beyond the boundaries of their own solar system. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Captain Emma Davis, his second-in-command. Miller nodded. "Send the signal. Let's make history." On the bridge of each ship, crews watched as the stars blurred and stretched. The new drive technology, developed with help from their alien allies, performed perfectly. In moments, the fleet arrived at their destination, The Proxima Centauri system, home to a species that had long been under hegemony control. "We're being hailed," reported the communications officer. "Put them through," Miller ordered. The view screen showed a reptilian face with large, intelligent eyes. "Greetings, Earth vessels. I am Governor South of the Proxima Coalition. We welcome you to free space." Miller smiled. "Thank you, Governor. We bring greetings from Earth and the Solar Alliance." The reception at Proxima Centauri was just the first of many. Over the next few weeks, Miller's fleet visited 6 star systems where local species had followed Earth's example. Inspired by humanity's stand against the hegemony, they had established their own banned zones using technology shared by Earth scientists. Meanwhile, on a space station orbiting Earth, Ambassador Jack Collins prepared for an even more important meeting. The station's main conference room had been specially designed to accommodate representatives from 20 different species, all former subjects or enemies of the hegemony. "Are you ready?" asked Director Susan Taylor, who had traveled up from Earth for this historic occasion. Collins straightened his formal uniform. "As ready as I'll ever be. I never imagined I'd be helping form a galactic council." Taylor smiled. 5 years ago, we were just hoping to survive. Now look at us." The council chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Some looked almost human, while others were completely alien, floating gas beings, crystalline entities, and many forms in between. All had one thing in common: they had thrown off hegemony control. Collins called the meeting to order. "Representatives of free worlds, thank you for coming to this historic gathering. Today we formalize what began 5 years ago with Earth's Stand Against Tyranny, the Galactic Council of Free Worlds." A ripple of approving sounds moved through the chamber. Collins continued, "Our first order of business is to establish our founding principles. Unlike the hegemony, which rules through force, we propose an alliance based on mutual respect and cooperation." Across the galaxy, the hegemony was in chaos. In his palace on the hegemony throne world, High Chancellor Zorak received increasingly dire reports. One of his advisors, a nervous official named Revik, brought the latest news. "The rebellion has spread to the Orion sector," Revik reported. 3 more resource worlds have established barrier fields like Earth's. Our ships cannot approach them." Zorak's 4 eyes narrowed dangerously. How? How are these primitives sharing this technology so quickly?" "We believe they are using modified versions of our own communication network," Revik admitted. "And there's worse news. Several of our subject species have begun refusing orders. They're demanding what they call free world status." Zorak smashed his fist on his throne. "Find a way through these barriers. The hegemony has ruled for 10,000 years. We will not be defeated by upstart primitives." But privately, Zorak knew the situation was dire. The hegemony controlled its vast territories through fear and superior technology. With both advantages now in question, the entire empire was at risk. Back on Earth, Dr. Kevin Rodriguez led the way through his laboratory, showing Director Taylor his latest work. "We've improved the barrier field," he explained. "The new version requires less energy and can be adjusted to allow specific ships to pass through safely." Taylor nodded approvingly. "That will help with trade between the Alliance worlds." "What about the exploration ships?" "Even better news there," Rodriguez said, bringing up a display showing a sleek spacecraft design. "We've developed a new drive system that's twice as fast as anything the hegemony has. By next year, we'll be able to reach any star within 1,000 light years." Taylor placed a hand on the scientist's shoulder. "Outstanding work, Kevin. 5 years ago, you helped save Earth. Now you're helping us build something better than what the hegemony created." In the Proxima Centauri system, Admiral Miller's diplomatic mission reached its most challenging moment. His fleet rendezvoused with a neutral trading station where, by special arrangement, High Chancellor Zorak himself had agreed to meet with human representatives. Miller and Ambassador Collins entered the meeting room together. Waiting for them was Zorak, flanked by hegemony guards. The High Chancellor looked much as he had 5 years before, though there was a new tension in his posture. "Admiral Miller," Zorak said coldly, We meet again under different circumstances. Miller nodded stiffly. Indeed, High Chancellor. I have come as requested to hear your terms, Zorak said. Though I must say the idea of the hegemony accepting terms from Earth is still difficult to comprehend. Collins stepped forward. We're not here to humiliate the hegemony, Chancellor. We're here to offer a new way forward. He activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy with dozens of points highlighted in blue, all worlds that had established barrier fields against the hegemony. This is the current situation, Collins explained. Every month more worlds join the Free Alliance. Your empire is fracturing from within. Zorak's upper eyes narrowed. Your point, Ambassador? We offer peace, Collins said simply. The hegemony recognizes the sovereignty of all sentient species and abandons its conquest ideology. In return, we share technology and establish open trade routes with hegemony worlds. And if we refuse? Zorak asked. Miller spoke up. Then more worlds will follow Earth's example. The barriers will spread. The hegemony will become increasingly isolated until it collapses entirely. Zorak was silent for a long moment. You understand what you're asking? 10,000 years of hegemony tradition ended because one primitive world decided to say no? Collins nodded. Sometimes it only takes one voice to change everything. As the meeting continued, Miller gazed out a viewport at the stars. 5 years ago, humanity had faced extinction at the hands of a seemingly invincible empire. Now they stood as equals, offering terms to their former enemies. The galaxy was changing. The species that once lived in fear of the hegemony now looked to Earth as an example. Not as conquerors like the hegemony, but as the unexpected guardians of freedom. As Miller watched Zorak reluctantly begin negotiations with Collins, he smiled. Whatever happened next, one truth was now written in the stars forever. Earth had said no to an empire, and the universe had heard.